This is episode 26, and today we're talking with CMO Nikita Semin, who is originally from Russia and is a CMO for a company in Canada. We talk about how it is to work remotely from a distance, many times zones away. And we also talk about how it is to have started a new company in August of last year and how they have grown and how they are trying to deliver last minute items. It's quite interesting. Stay tuned for this great episode.
I see a lot of CMOs who have never conducted an interview with their users.
Today, I'm so proud to welcome Nikita Semin. Thank you for joining us.
So nice to meet you, and nice to join this podcast.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey prior to joining TIGGY. Can you tell us a little bit of your background?
So my journey began with the fact that I was thrown out of the university. I studied to be a lawyer. So the next step for me was a large media agency, ADV, to which I devoted more than a year. So there, for the first time, I built some kind of a system of understanding marketing and how it works. So I was buying Facebook ads, programmatic platforms, VK. It's the largest Russian social network, and many other sources. So then I was recruited to a small design and performance agency called Embassy as a head of performance marketing. I was absolutely unprepared for this role, as I needed to switch from budgeting mode to monetizing marketing efforts. It's absolutely different things. It was a huge difference in approaches, and it still looks for me really painful when I see a lot of big companies whose budgets are drained by dudes like me in these agencies. So then I joined a startup called Food Family and passed the Startup Lab Accelerator. And it was an awesome journey where I studied product development, did more than 100 interviews with our customers, trying to improve our communication. So from research to repeated sales. And it was the classical AARRR. And I worked across the whole funnel because there was nobody who could do it besides me. I was the only marketer in the company. I joined a startup called Vacuum. Vacuum is a platform for brain and soft skill development. You play different games and improve memory, attention, thinking, and so on. Spent over 2 years with this company and grew from a paid search buyer first to a targeted ads buyer, then to an affiliate manager, then to a sales funnels builder. I managed 2 teams, content and performance teams, and then I became the CMO. It was my first time I joined this role. Now I am CMO at TIGGY, but I think we can discuss this role a bit later today.
Yes, sure. So what is TIGGY and what is the business model?
TIGGY is a 15 minutes grocery delivery, and its mission is to forever change the way people buy everyday essentials. So I think we create the future of convenience stores without queues, heavy bags, wasted time, and so on. And so we do money like every other store. We just sell goods. We don't spend much on storefronts and rent. So we distribute this money between couriers and pickers. Pickers are those guys who collect these orders. So they do it mostly faster than in a minute now.
What? So they pick at a location, or do they go into an actual supermarket to pick it, or how is it centralized or localized?
No, we have our own warehouses. We call them dark stores. Most of the people in Canada call it micro fulfillment centers, and I think this dark store name came from Russia. from Lavka, Samokat. It's our competitors in Russia. They are quite large companies already, and they have more than 300 stores across Moscow, St. Petersburg, Krasnodar, and so on. So yeah, it's only about Vancouver and Toronto now, but I hope, depending on the funding, we will expand to other cities like Montreal, maybe Sydney, and so on. I mentioned Sydney as you are from Australia, so I hope we will sometime we will do this worldwide expansion too. But the main goal is to become the number one Canadian fast delivery company.
For instance, Toronto, which I've been to many times, is a big city and it's very spread out. How can you guarantee or offer 15 minutes delivery? Do you have many locations in around Toronto?
Yes. The delivery zones are. It's about only 1-2 kilometers from this center and from this warehouse, and so we deliver by e-bikes and just simple bikes. So it's also sustainable.
And the delivery drivers, are they working on an Uber slash driver model, or do they work directly for your company? Are they employed, or they only get paid?
They're employed.
They're employed.
So yes, they're employed and they're paid hourly. There are also tips they receive, so the full amount, and it's a big difference between Uber and us. Because they work on this order-based model, so we pay anyway, even though there is absolutely no orders on the dark store.
Very interesting business model. So, your demographics from a marketing perspective, who are your users? Who uses TIGGY to order things with delivery 15 minutes?
We don't put too much focus on this demographics. Mostly we concentrate on the use cases. I think the most common thing is about this last minute items. I mean, when you woke up and understood that something went wrong with your coffee, like there's no milk, you just can order it and get it in 15 minutes. Or just, for example, your avocado for your breakfast or eggs for your breakfast. It's all about this last minute items. It's one of these use cases. One more thing is about food as something funny. I mean, sometimes you want to try different cuisines, like, I don't know, Iranian or Korean, or I don't know, Ukrainian, for example. You can order such products, get it in 15, and it's about fun. It's a fun use case. When you can, for example, I don't know, maybe see the TV or listen to music, or you can order some food and just make some fun with it. And one more use case is about family with children, about the mothers. I think they're facing much troubles with the children, with the time they have to invest in this area, so to say. And it's sometimes it's really tricky to go to a store to, I don't know, buy some Pampers or something like this. It's one of the use cases we cover, and so we have this kind of families, kind of people. There are a lot of other use cases too, but I mentioned, I think, the main ones.
As a father myself, I certainly understand the situation where you certainly when you need a diaper, you need it right now. I can understand that. Also, if you're in the middle of cooking food and you're missing ingredient, something like salt, or you're missing something else to put into the food making, you don't have time to go down and get it. So I get that. That makes sense. Okay, interesting. How is your role as a CMO of TIGGY different than the other roles you have been working with other companies?
It's quite unusual because you have to do marketing in a country you've never been to. You're setting up channels with people you've never seen. Hiring the locals you'll probably never see because they queued before you get to Canada. So as for people management, it's a really tricky thing, and it's also quite difficult because you need to reduce the customer acquisition cost, increase the marketing spend at the same time, hire and sometimes fire people, and improve your current team performance. So all at the same time, also simultaneously. And I have already faced such challenges before, but only in Vacuum. It was really hard. Now it's even harder, but now we have much more resources than in the previous company. So there's now troubles with funding and so on, and so now we can hire the best, and we can spend much on consulting, on testing different channels, and so on.
I can also see from a perspective that you are operating in a country you haven't been to, but also it's one that is many time zones away, and it's also a country that has many time zones. So you either have to get up very early to talk to someone or stay up late to talk to someone.
Yes, so it's a common thing when you start, for example, from I don't know 12 a.m. and finish at 12 p.m. So because you have calls with your Canadian colleagues, and so you just can't go to bed early.
So tell me about TIGGY as a brand. How are you establishing? How old is TIGGY, and how long has it been operating in Canada?
So as for the last question, we started operating in August. We started not from our own warehouse. We just wanted to start to test this model, to test some channels, to attract new users as fast as we can, to gain the traction, to start understanding the Canadian market as soon as possible. Because when we when we launched the first store, we wanted to be ready to so we wanted to understand how to attract customers, how to retain them, and as I know, it was about 30, maybe 40 days since the company was established and until the first order came to the first user.
Wow.
Yes, it wasn't our own dark store, our own micro fulfillment center, but so it happened. It was an app, and it was a web version which was made from scratch in I think 2 months. We got the web version, we got iOS app, and it was kind of so long-term hackathon for our development team. As for the brand, TIGGY is first and foremost an honest brand. We openly communicate with users, deeply study their problems. So I already mentioned the use cases we learned from the interviews. We communicate in a friendly manner and want to become a real hero for every district of the city. When we invited a researcher to our team to help us with the research, with the interviews, he mentioned this fact. I mean, even this person who was outside of the company, he mentioned this vision of a hero, a kind of Spider-Man for people who are in trouble of this last-minute item. So if this hero who brings you a bottle of milk that you forgot to buy in the store, and it doesn't ask any commissions for it.
So that's the marketing. That's the spokesperson, the symbol that you're using in your campaign to deliver item to for the marketing company. Yeah.
Person besides our couriers, we are just trying to communicate this way, like we are this hero. There's yes, I think the main person there are couriers. I mean, the main face of the company, and as I know, as I see in the reviews in Google's Play Market or in Apple Store, they're really funny guys and girls, we had even a couple of them making TikToks about how they deliver their orders. It looks really funny. Our customers really love them, and many of them mention this fact that they look really happy. And so maybe it's because of the hourly rate paying model.
As opposed to the gig model where you only get paid with an hourly rate. Yeah, you actually can have an income
yes,
and have a life. Yes.
Maybe.
Good. That's good to hear. So can I ask some in general about being a CMO? What's most important to you, the story or the numbers?
So I think it's a question about long and short-term strategies. Of course, marketing is about numbers, but if you want to keep them on high level, you have to something behind it. So it's a story. And you can attract users without any communication strategy, but so I don't know how long it will last and what retention we will have after this. So for me, as I mentioned before, it's about short-term and long-term strategy, first of all.
What are 3 things you wish someone had told you before you started CMO, and that you had to find out yourself?
So I learned it's prior to becoming a CMO, before becoming a CMO, but I see a lot of CMOs who have never conducted an interview with their users or made solid market research. So the customer research is a must-have on a weekly basis, as I think. It doesn't matter how hard you are overwhelmed. You won't be able to build competent marketing without knowing with whom and with what words you are talking. This is an obvious thing that everyone seems to understand, but as I see, just a few people do. I think it's a much more common thing across product managers, but not across marketers. So as I see, so it just my experience. So the next thing I'd like to mention is the if the customer acquisition cost or any other metric you measure works for now and it's scalable. So just scale this channel until the economy breaks down and starts improving this channel, this funnel, this channel. Only after that, so shit happens, and after the economy breaks down. Don't try to. So it doesn't make much sense chase 2 birds with 1 stone. And as for me, it was almost always a real trouble trying to scale the channel at the same time when you are trying to improve the funnel. First, you focus on scaling when it works, then you focus on improving the performance. One more thing is about hiring people. So don't hire if you are in doubt, and even if the person is needed very urgently. It's much better to come up with a couple of workarounds to whom to transfer duties, but not to settle for a mistake in hiring. So I already did a couple of mistakes in hiring and in previous companies. So now I think the team is just excellent. I know there's always space to improve it, but now I'm really satisfied with it, and I'm proud of my guys.
Okay, that's good to hear. But what advice would you give other CMOs out there?
So I don't think I'm experienced enough to give advice to others, but the advice I'd give myself would be that product growth seems to be in proportion to the strength of the team. Therefore, if you want to grow, so you must hire people who will be cooler than you in their own directions. I think it's the main advice I will give, first of all, to me, maybe to the other CMOs, it will be also relevant.
What keeps you up at night?
Telegram notifications about every order and numbers in our dashboard. So we have kind of bot in Telegram. As I think you know this messenger, and we developed a special API for our couriers, pickers, and support team. They just receive all the notifications about when the order was collected, when the order was delivered, when the courier came back to the fulfillment center. I think in the last months, mostly I see on all these things in the dashboards, but in the first, I think, 2 or 3 months, I checked this chats, this bots every time I could do it, and it was kind of euphoria when you see your efforts in real time, and so it was one of these things which kept me up at night.
I guess you mentioned a little bit earlier when you said Sydney and you said the other countries. What's the 5-year vision for TIGGY?
For TIGGY. So the main aim is to become, as I mentioned before, a #1 grocery delivery service in Canada, and become profitable as well. You know, these business models have such troubles around the world. I mean, all these companies face the same trouble. So with its profitability, I think that the logistics network that we will build will be a good basis for building new services. Yeah. I mean, it can be a fast delivery of anything that fits in a courier bag. It might be, for example, banking cards. I mean, credit cards.
Yeah.
It might be something like, I don't know. So anything which fits this last minute item name. There are a lot of things which look much faster in Russia, like receiving credit cards, for example, as I mentioned before. The process in Toronto took about 2 hours just to start the conversation with the bank. I mean, our founder spent these 2 hours on his phone waiting for the answer. In Russia, you can settle all everything related to your business. I mean, in the low area, in a couple of hours. You can establish a new company in 1 day, and without going to the bank. It's looked really strange to us that you have to spend 2 hours waiting for an answer. Yes, and there are a lot of such things there, which can be improved with the help of the current logistics network.
Absolutely, that makes total sense. Can you give us an example of a marketing campaign at TIGGY that you are particularly proud of?
So we launched a fairly large-scale campaign for the sale of COVID rapid tests, and this initiative was supported by more than 35 media in 1 week, and so we distributed them at no extra charge, and I think it was also a very good step to help the locals because you just simply couldn't buy a test in a pharmacy. So they weren't available anywhere during this time, and your only option was to come to the clinic, give a couple of $100 and sit with a bunch of the same as you for 3 or 4 hours, waiting for your test, and to be guaranteed to get sick.
Yeah.
We even allowed to use promo codes for this test for the first week. It was trading in the red, but it was. I think it was really important for locals because many of our employees was sick, and we had to help them somehow, at least not to leave their homes.
And I think that's an amazing way to get the word out there, help people, but also tell them about the app and that they can order other things. It's a great way to get people on there and acquire it.
It became viral, and so we faced some troubles with the promo codes after this because it was too bad for our unit economics. So anyway, it was a great step to the local community, and I think this money spent was worth it.
Okay, well, that's great. I like that. That's a good campaign. Acquiring new users is, of course, a challenge for any business. How do you go about acquiring users, TIGGY?
So we have already tested about, I think, more than 17 channels. Both online and offline. Now we focus on Facebook ads, brand ambassadors. These guys flying on the streets. Also, Apple search ads. Social media works for us as well. And we use also channels like Google search ads, YouTube as a performance channel, first of all. I think it's not a common thing for every marketer to use YouTube not as a rich channel. Also, direct mail works really great. It has specific things you should calculate. When you send these mails, these flyers to the audience, you have to wait and you have to calculate your economy for 2 months, for example, because this amount of new users coming from this channel is so it doesn't work like Facebook when you just started your campaign and you see the results immediately. There you have to wait. There you have to build kind of cohort reports and track every company, every email you send. No, not email, but mail you send separately, and every district you have to track separately. It was really strange to me that sometimes offline channels like brand ambassadors or direct mail might work better than performance channels like Facebook ads. Of course, the cheapest, in the customer acquisition cost view, is search channels like Google search or Apple search. But if you want to attract new customers, there's no real possibility to scale this search channels. You have to find different ways, and direct mail brand ambassadors are one of the best ways you can do it in Vancouver or Toronto for such brand like TIGGY.
Peter, thank you so much for spending time with us. It was really good to speak with you and hear how you're doing and how you work, how it's challenging to work on one continent and being CMO for a company on another continent. But that's the world we live in today. So thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation, and I hope maybe sometime I will be invited to the next series.
Absolutely.
So maybe I hope so.
Okay, good. Thank you. At the end of each episode, I have the fortune to talk with Zane. Zane is a producer who's sitting in the background, making sure we sound good and the sound quality comes out well. And I always like to bring Zane in to hear what he thought about today's episode.
Yeah, this was an interesting one because I definitely relate to the working remotely internationally. I deal with a lot of international people, and so working through time zones is difficult. I can't imagine doing it where your whole office is is offset by 6 hours or what have you. So yeah, kudos to Nikita for doing that. Yeah. But what I was really impressed with in his interview is focusing on the use cases of the product rather than on the specific demographics.
Yes.
I think that was a really interesting way to approach what is essentially an app or a service app. Going like, well, really anyone who forgot something, that's universal. So that's what we're going to market to, or families, or who are like, oh, we've forgotten the salt. We need some more salt. And then, I think that ties in really well with that image of being the hero who arrives with the thing and saves the day.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. That's other things I like. First of all, the whole gig economy, I think it's not benefiting everyone, and sometimes the drivers left out. So having an hourly salary, something, a livable wage, I'm so in favor of that. I think that's amazing. And also I like the delivering on e-bikes. Which is, you take up less traffic, less space, less parking, less commuting, less polluting, and you get somebody on a bike. So I like that. That's a good delivery
And also,
model.
I think the product being so local is very localized. It's not a big centralized hub out in the middle of nowhere. These are people that are within a couple of kilometers of where you are. And I think what Nikita said about the importance of CMOs actually getting hands-on with customer research is also really important, because connecting with the actual people who are using the product.
Yes.
Yeah.
And direct mail.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because this is a digital marketing podcast. We don't really compare that, but I think it was interesting to compare that, like, they have had success with direct mail, but it's an entirely different beast. You have to wait 2 months before you can even start to assess the success of it.
Yes.
And that is a long time in digidital marketing terms.
Yeah. Oh, that's light years.
Yeah. That's two big revisions. Yeah.
It was good to talk to Nikita.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zane.
Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.